Okay.
I wondered how we survived with the yellow lights on cars for years.
Well, I think the yellow lights are actually better because, like I say, when you're looking at the oncoming traffic with those super bright white lights, it's harder. It's harder on you than the yellow lights. I notice it every time when I drive. Those yellowish lights are easier to take looking at them.
Well, actually, there's one reason why. That's actually the reason it's argued by France as to why they have yellow lights in the first place.
Yeah, I think that may come in here.
Like,
The insurance companies may. The insurance companies.
I hate the French yellow lights. Right, they're horrible. I think the white lights are nice. I actually quite like. I prefer them.
I don't. I probably. I don't. Only because of what I see when I see oncoming traffic. The white lights are too bright, and they seem to be if they were put down a bit, angled down a bit, it might be a little bit better. But
well, there is a problem. We do have a problem here in North America, in Ontario particularly, is that I've seen people who drive around on high beam even through the city, even on city lights. They're driving high beam.
Yeah, that's, I think, part of the problem. But they are much brighter and harder for somebody oncoming.
I don't know.
I noticed that quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the new advent of LED lights, of course, that's changed things.
Yeah, well, it first started with the halogen.
Yeah, it did. But the LEDs are so much, and who would have thought LED lights from, the LED light that just was a simple on-off switch for a computer has evolved into such a powerful thing. But anyway. All right. Well, welcome everybody to Talking Niagara. It is Thursday, October 23rd, and we've got a few stories for you. Let's start with NASA confirming that we now have a second moon. It's only about.
Yeah, it's not really a moon though. It's kind of like a shadow planet almost, because it doesn't like other satellites, other moons. It doesn't rotate around the Earth. It's sort of in sync with our planet Earth, moving around the sun in near sequence with the Earth. The Earth somehow got a hold of it with gravity, but not a very strong gravitational force.
This is a, I suppose one could call it an asteroid that's about between 18 and 36 meters wide and with a height of a small building. So it's an unusual shaped object, and it's tiny by cosmic standards. But if it actually got caught by the Earth and came in and crash landed on Earth, it could cause quite a bit of problem. Could cause us a nuclear winter.
Oh yeah, but it's called a quasi-moon.
It says
here it's a rare type of celestial companion that travels almost exactly in sync with the Earth. So it's not a true moon, but it keeps pace with us, looping around the sun in a path so similar that it appears to be a shadow of our planet as it orbits. So the idea that it's a moon, now a moon or a satellite, means that it goes around the Earth. Well, this is not going around the Earth. So that's why they call it a quasi-moon. They can't call it a planet, of course, but it's a small feature that somehow is in sync with planet Earth, but it will lose its ability to hold that orbit within what? For
about 50 years, yeah. 2083 is when they see it drifting away into open space again. Now, why it will stay with us for such a long time, I don't know. And this has been designated 2025 PN7.
Well, it's about 4 times farther away from us than our own moon, our own satellite.
Yeah.
So it may be held in its particular orbit because of the Earth's gravity, probably the Earth and the moon's gravity, because the Earth and the moon are so close together. But that is unsustainable. Now, is it a threat to the Earth? No, apparently not. It will not be grabbed by the Earth any stronger than it is now and be drawn towards it.
Yeah.
If that was the case, we could have some problems. What
Yeah,
we do have
currently at about it's between 4 and 17 million kilometers away.
Yeah, in a few years from now, we do have a problem coming when we do have an asteroid that will come fairly close to the Earth. It will, so far, through their calculations, will actually go inside the Earth's gravitational field where it's problematic. It's going to come pretty close to the Earth. They feel that that particular asteroid will not be sucked into the planet's gravitational field. But I'm not so sure if the moon gets in the way of that. It may at least hit the moon. The moon's gravity may deflect it enough that it does sort of head itself to the Earth. Right now they've been keeping an eye on it for several years, and they know it's going to come close to the Earth, but they feel that it's not going to be a problem.
There's also this interstellar comet that's out there. Somebody gave me the designation of it the other day. I can't remember it now though. But look that one up if you're interested.
Yeah, it's just an interesting thing. If you notice, we can talk about many bad things that happen through social media and things like YouTube and all that politically. But one of the things that a lot of social media does is get a lot of this information out there that used to be more of an arcane thing that only amateur astronomers and scientists would know about, but now it becomes regular knowledge. So it's just one of those interesting things that has popped up, I think, because of the dissemination of information is so much more than it used to be. Something like this may not even have got into the newspapers if not for a lot of sort of sub-reporting on it in things like social media and that. So I think it's a good thing, but are they lying to us? Like one of the things they talked about, we might have a collision with a cosmic mass in about 5 or 10 years. Are they really being honest with us, or are they really getting ready to throw up nuclear bombs to sort of deflect it? We don't know. Would they tell us the truth? Would they tell us the truth of an imminent collision if they really knew?
I think they probably would, but they've also got some Star Wars type technology out there now that is able to shoot some of these things down.
We think so.
Yeah,
but
as far as the best we're able to understand. Yeah.
Well, one good thing about the massive amount of people observing the heavens, including amateur astronomers, when we find that amateur astronomers are the ones that are finding things a lot out there, that once they report them, so we got a lot of eyes on space. So we can be relatively assured that if there is something threatening to the Earth, we could find it many years before that event might possibly happen, and we can the world in this particular case could galvanize its resources and hope to deal with it. But this is just a quasi moon, and it's the first time I've ever heard of that, where an object in space gets in sync with the same orbit as the Earth and shadows the Earth's orbit. I think that's pretty interesting.
There's, as I said, this other one. Mike has just here said, "What's up with 3i Atlas?" 3i Atlas is an interstellar object that is currently passing through the solar system.
Yeah, this is the one that I think they feel that might be a bit of a threat. The Earth is going to come pretty close to the Earth.
Actually, the other question here is, is it an alien mothership they're seeing?
Yeah, well, we'll have to talk to Douglas Adams about that, who wrote a book maintaining that the Earth was built by mice and interstellar mice as a giant computer.
Just stop giving away the secrets of 42.
Yeah, 42. Yeah. I remember telling my niece that she was talking about her homework and math and stuff like that. And I said to her,
there is something special about the number 42.
And what is that?
Well, it's actually the numbers of times it pops up on things, and you kind of go, well, that adds up to 42.
Yeah.
And it's just odd things that happen out there, and you kind of go, whoa, 42 again.
Yeah, well, I think we can be almost assured that Trump's presidency will last only another 42 years.
Or 42 seconds, whichever comes first.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So that's just a very interesting bit of space knowledge that's being disseminated to the average person very quickly and easily. And I kind of, if you look at what happened when the movable press was invented and used extensively in Europe in 1440s, I believe, the Gutenberg press. Generally speaking, it got a lot more knowledge out there for a lot of different people, and it pushed the literacy rates higher. But you got a lot of rubbish as well as you got a lot of excellent stuff. And I think when we think of social media and the dissemination of knowledge like this quickly, that's a good piece of knowledge, a little bit of nice, interesting things. But that thing you talked about, space aliens, that would be the conspiracy part. And I expect to see it any day now on YouTube, where someone suggests that the quasi moon is actually a bunch of aliens setting up an observational point to keep an eye on us.
Well, to be quite honest, if we're going to be absolutely honest about this, if it was a bunch of aliens keeping their eye upon us, we wouldn't have the know-how and the capability of doing anything about it anyway right now.
Well, unless you're a good conspiracy theorist, then you can dream up any kind of.
Yeah, but again, bullshit sells papers, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so to speak. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. The Special Investigation Unit is actually investigating after a suspect was killed during a police encounter in Niagara Falls, and this relates to the man who was wanted in Brampton for the killing of his family,
killing of his wife, I think, or significant other, and kidnapping the child. What happened is the child ended up in the arms of this family, but the police pursued this guy. This is the Amber Alert that went right across Ontario, and exploded my phone. Now they were able to catch up to him at Gale's gas station right there on Throwstone Road between the highway and Montrose Road there, and they gunned him down. The police gunned him down. He was a passenger in a car, and I don't know how they made it to Gale's gas, maybe just to pull over to get gas, and the police caught up to them there. what it looks like is he had a weapon, a handgun, and the police, one police officer shot him several times and killed him. So the SIU unit is now investigating that.
The Special Investigation Unit is always called out in a police-involved shooting. Always.
Well, yes.
And,
now, I'd like to know the details of it because a while ago we covered a story where a guy was losing his mind. He was brandishing a knife, but nobody was in danger of this guy, but he was brandishing a knife, and he come across a couple of officers, but they decided to shoot him when they had other options.
Yeah,
I don't think in this particular case you could say that the officer had other options if the guy produced a gun, a handgun. But I would like to know what the investigation comes up with.
It bothers me that, okay, so I accept that if he had a handgun, he'd be in danger to those around him, especially as the police arrived on scene. The other question would be, it's not just the driver of the car, who might well be, who the police might want to interview anyway, but also the gas station workers and others in that area, because that's even at 2 o'clock in the morning, that is quite, there's a lot going on in that area, right? So there's a lot to be seen as to what the reason why they might gun him down. But I always take the view that I think it's better that you disable him and take him to court than gunning down on the street. But I wasn't there. I don't know the circumstances, and that might have been the only option. And that's why the SIU are there to investigate.
Yeah, well, I know that night, like at about 5 after 12, there was about 10 firecracker-like sounds for me, and I'm not far from, I'm about a half a kilometer away from the Gales gas station there on Thorlstone Road. But I just thought it was kind of ironic that same night someone was letting off firecrackers behind me.
You're thinking of a different Gales. You're thinking of a different Gales gas station.
Am I?
Yep, this is the one near Harvey's.
Yeah, the one on Thorlstone Road.
No, you've got one on Thorlstone Road near you. And there's also one up at the QEW, at the QEW in Montrose on Thorlstone.
Well, that's the one I said.
That's the one near Harvey's.
Yeah, but it's on Thorlstone Road.
Yeah. Okay.
Thorlstone Road, about a half a kilometer from me.
I thought it was a bit further than that, but still. Maybe
a little bit further, but
yeah.
I'm close to the corner of Dorchester and Dorchester and Thorlstone Road, and if you just go over the highway, there's Gales right there.
Yeah, but there's a Gales less than half a kilometer the other way from you.
Yeah, but I didn't mix that one up. I'm talking about the one on Thorlstone Road, west of the highway there.
Yeah. Okay.
It even if you look at the pictures, it's right there, almost at the corner of Montrose, Thorlstone Road is the Gales Service Center, and that's where this incident happened. Yeah.
And there, of course, there's a lot of cars there. There's a special investigation unit there to look it up. I'm surprised you said about 10 o'clock you heard things, because in both.
No, it was 5 after 12. Somebody back here started letting off firecrackers.
Oh,
and I thought, and firecrackers, and I just thought that it was ironic that at one point I thought, is that a gun going on? Yeah. And I just made note of the time basically, and I thought I was 99% sure that it was firecrackers, but with all the amount, of course, in the back of my mind, with all the guns going on, gun traffic in Ontario now, and the incidences of guns, that of course that crossed my mind. And and ironically, just a couple hours later, this thing happened.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is about this is the police tape that's there says Peel Crime Stoppers. So it's Peel-based police tape that was in Niagara.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but this
So
is
they
a
must have
sad
been
thing.
chasing him. They must have been chasing him. They must have
This
known
is a
who they
sad
were.
thing. I don't suppose they had time to taser him or anything like that.
Probably not.
Um, I would very, very much like to know the complete details. I have a feeling that our own police are a little bit more gun happy than they should be. I can't say that for sure, but when that guy was shot that was brandishing a knife, I think it was down in Niagara on the lake, and there was nobody around him, and the cops had lots of room and other things they could have done, and they shot him. They didn't shoot him in the foot. They didn't shoot him in the leg.
I think
they didn't taser him.
Yeah, I think
So
here there was probably. It sounds like here there was no choice, but that one in Niagara on the Lake, I think, was appalling. They could have tasered him.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea that I hope our own police are well trained to be a little bit more. Well, I think they are, because if you think of it, the Toronto police, when that guy killed, I don't know, 14 people with his van, and he wanted the cop to shoot him, and he pulled out his phone and pretended it was a gun. A single cop walked up to him and arrested him. A single cop.
Yeah.
And the guy was pretending he had a gun, but the cop kept his cool.
Yeah.
Saw the situation, even though he was by himself, and was able to make.
And even though that was a nasty situation, I think it is better that guy, it goes. It's better that you go through the courts. That's why we got courts.
Well, yeah, the fact that the guy kept his cool, though, it was what I like. And recently, I've been watching a few things on YouTube about cops and the things they do, the pluses and minuses they do on YouTube, and I feel that they just go to the gun way too fast.
Yeah, it's a problem of having guns and guns that are readily available. It's
I think the fear factor for our own officers is up there, but really, I wonder, because I was pulled over one night by a police officer who claimed that I was trying to case a joint to steal something from it, and I couldn't believe what the cop was saying. This was a few years ago, so I left my house, and I was behind the plaza close to Home Hardware in Stamford there. And I was cutting through the from an apartment building that's there. That it's a typical shortcut, and a cop just zoomed over to me from Home Hardware and pulled me over and insisted that I was casing the joint to steal stuff. I mean, he was a little bit unhinged, and I had to explain to him over and over again that, man, I live 2 minutes drive from here, and I was headed toward the bank, which is over there, and he wasn't going to buy that. And so I said I was going to the bank, and his idea that I was driving slowly through there to have a good look at how to break into the places there. And all I did was slow down to go over a speed bump. That was his insistence that that's what I was doing, and that I did not have a sound explanation for. And I'm thinking, I'm going to the bank, and this guy's pulling me over because I slowed down for a speed bump, and he completely assumed right away that I was trying to case the joint. So I'm thinking, when that guy pulled me over, I'm thinking I better not move my hands at all, because this guy might pull his gun out. Yeah. A little later on, I went to the bank, and sure enough, a minute too later, he had waited and went there to see if I had showed up to the bank. So
the irony here, Dave, is that probably a lot of people would have followed exactly the same route as you did if they lived in that particular area. And many of them might not have gone down if I'd have been going through that car park and there was a speed bump ahead of me, I'd have gone on the non-driving bit when the car park was empty. I'd have avoided the speed bump.
It was impossible because there's only two places that you can get through from one part to another, and you have to go over the speed bump.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah.
So the cop full well knew that there's a speed bump there, and I had to slow down. But his immediate assumption that a guy in a van driving at 10 o'clock at night, going to go to the bank, was casing the joint for thievery, and yet I've heard of no thievery going on in and around that area, and there wasn't really much to thieve from there. That's the other thing I thought. I mean, what could anyone steal around here? Okay.
So,
but my whole point was that he got unhinged and he jumped to a bunch of different conclusions. Yeah. And if the same cops are doing that when they think a guy might have a gun, are they going to shoot first and ask questions later?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. Halloween candy is going to cost more. We said this last year, didn't we? Inflation put the prices of the Halloween candy up.
I think we can safely say that it's going to go up every year, but it might be a little bit more of a drastic hit this time around.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, of course, is because of the chocolate we get mostly from Côte d'Ivoire. There's not only is a shortage of it, but there's new tariffs putting on it and things like that. We might have to get our chocolate via the States, which means it's unavoidable for us to pay the tariff, even though its ultimate destination is here in Canada. So that's one thing. Chocolate prices have gone up, and that's just because the major producer of chocolate in the world, I believe, is Côte d'Ivoire. It is produced in many different other places, but Côte d'Ivoire, the West African country, is the major supplier of chocolate. I think they've had a reduction of production due to, I don't know, weather or some other incidences may have happened. So that's a participating factor. But I would think that
that's kind of weird, that we produce it out there rather than and import it. That is kind of weird.
No, it's not. It's no more weird than vanilla coming from Madagascar. It's because vanilla can be grown in Madagascar easy. Same as coffee beans. Like we don't produce coffee up here. We don't grow coffee beans. We have to import it all because it's not grown here.
No, but I'm just saying that the chocolate, chocolate candy bars and that sort of thing have traditionally been made here.
Yeah, they could be made here, but the ingredients have to come from elsewhere.
Like
the peanuts in a chocolate bar would probably have to come from the United States because we do grow peanuts here, but not the type that would be going into a chocolate bar. The other ingredients, I don't know, a variety of ingredients. Sugar, we don't produce a whole lot of sugar here. We have to import it. Have to come from Cuba or other places. So that's another import. I think a lot of the price rises, I don't know how much you can attribute it to tariffs, but of course that's the first thing people think of. Is if things are going up in price, does it have much to do with tariffs or not?
Yeah,
I don't know, but anyway, I think it's not going to break anybody's pocketbook. Halloween candy.
Well, but your $10, your $10, $20, $30 will go less than it went last year or the year before.
Well, all I know, when I was handing out candy, when I did have a house, any kid that came to my place had a good score, man.
You went OTT on the sugar, eh?
Yeah, I make up these little bags and I put 5 or 6 little treats and little chocolate bars and little other candies and that. I put them in, and quite often I give each kid 2 bags because, 15 minutes, half an hour after I've been handing them out, I could realize I'm not going to get a whole lot of kids. So every subsequent kid would get double what I normally would have given.
Okay,
But they made it was a good count, man. When the kids came to my house, they got a good count.
Okay, so here's a good question for you, and one I can't really answer. Do you find less kids in today's Halloween?
Oh yeah, very much so. I'm in a condo, and a condo here has long since stopped giving out candy on Tholstone Road here, because when they did do that for a while, where everybody sort of chipped in and gave out candy, I was told that they had sometimes they would never get a kid, so they just stopped doing it.
Mm. Well, in fact, actually, there aren't many kids on our street. The guy opposite has got a massive, great spider web out on his lawn, so he's going to get a lot of people. But we've actually bought candy on several occasions and had nobody come.
Now I'm wondering if the new Canadians have fully embraced Halloween. For instance, like if you get a bunch of Indians or like people from Iraq or whatever, and they're here and they're new Canadians. Do they send their kids out to get candy? Do they embrace the cultural thing of Halloween? We're coming up to Remembrance Day, and I find that a lot of new Canadians don't put on a poppy. They don't understand the significance of it, and that's what got Don Cherry all messed up.
But you see, as maybe the message about by the dentist about cleaning your teeth, etc., is something that that's getting through, right?
No. What people don't know, they don't understand the conspiracy that dentists are behind Halloween right from day one. They're the ones that are supplying cheap candy for everyone because that assures them business in the future.
That's the best conspiracy theory I've heard yet.
Yeah, it's a cabal of dentists making sure that Halloween gets make Halloween great again. Get those kids eating candy. It's a cash cow for us.
But I think a lot. You're right in a way that a lot of it is actually about the lack of understanding from newer Canadians, because in fact, actually, I'm one of them, and I'm not really into Halloween because Halloween wasn't something we did in England, right? Guy Fawkes Day, yeah, that was top notch for us, but Halloween, what the heck is that? That was something we heard on American TV.
Remember the 5th of November.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. So Halloween was something that only came from US TV shows. It had no relevance apart from that.
Well, anyway, but I don't know where else in the developing world they don't have Halloween, but
those Halloween's hardly used anywhere. Actually, it's a Scottish tradition, I know, but Halloween.
Irish.
Scottish, as far as I'm aware.
Apparently, it comes from Old Irish. I forget the name of it.
It's probably Gaelic. It's probably Gaelic, and Gaelic, Irish Gaelic, and Scottish Gaelic are fairly similar.
Yeah. They probably share a lot of traditions, but originally it was a pagan celebration where the souls of the dead come out for that night and try to cause mayhem. And they used to have a turnip rather than a pumpkin lit up, things like that. But in any case, it's just a fun thing for kids to do. And I'm always amazed when I look around at Halloween decorations and how grisly they are. with bones and dead people and stuff like that. So we take the macabre, we take what should be scary, and make sure the kids are really not scared of it anymore.
And you can now get these blow up balloons that, 16-foot high kind of skeletons in a blow up balloon type thing.
Yep.
Right.
So basically, to sort of summarize that article, is all things are going up in price. So what else is new?
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. It's not just Halloween; it's everything, right? Okay, moving on. Doug Ford is saying Ontario. Doug Ford saying that Ontario anti-tariff ad that was put out in America caught Donald Trump's eyes, and a lot of it is that he was saying the ad features a clip from former President Ronald Reagan slamming tariffs on foreign goods and saying they lead to trade wars and job losses.
Yeah, this is a pretty common thing. It popped up a lot. That clip popped up a lot early on in the tariff wars. I think even before that, I think some of the Democrats may have put that out there. Now Ronald Reagan, among Republicans, I mean real Republicans, was thought to be the best president in the 20th century. It's pretty hard to say, but since Ronald Reagan put them in debt a lot, I mean, I think that's what he may have in common with Trump, is Trump's putting the U.S. in huge amounts of debt, and Ronald Reagan's policy did the same thing. However, Ronald Reagan was more of a leader. Like he put Israel in its place, called Israeli actions in Lebanon the act of terrorists. You cannot find that kind of wording out of either the Democrat or Republicans now, even though the rest of the world will say it as a thing. But yeah, since Donald Trump sort of stole a lot of Reagan's ideas, like "Make America Great Again," that is a Reagan slogan. So that was adopted by Trump, and a lot of his early campaign messages sounded very Reaganish, that kind of thing. And I don't know. This is I don't know. This would probably frost Trump. He probably thinks of Ford as kind of an enemy right now. He'd probably try to go and arrest him if he could and indict him. But I don't know. I think it was probably very, very effective. And hats off to the broadcasters who let that happen.
Yeah, but again, one of the things is that Ford is currently taking a lot of criticism over job losses in the auto industry and the slowdown in the Ontario economy right now.
Well, of course, you're going to point your fingers at who's ever the boss, but I think overall, I think overall that even if some of Doug's policies may not have been the best, I'm not sure. I don't look at them. I don't know what the policies were towards the auto industry. I know that Ontario ponied up a lot of coin for the auto industry, and so did the feds, in order to make it stronger and more competitive. And despite that, we're losing jobs and they're going to the United States. I'm not so sure that Doug Ford could stop that, although he claims that he is, and he's putting heat on Stellantis and others. He's even put heat on the Crown Royal, the whiskey makers, for closing up an Amherst distribution area, and he's dumped the whiskey out, and he's showing disdain for any Ontario business that wants to wander away and close down and lose its jobs.
Well, and think with that, it's like when we were talking about the Ontario whiskey, there was no reason to close down the Ontario plant. They could have kept the Ontario plant open as well as keep as opening a fresh one in the US.
Well, it wasn't the U.S. He was moving it to. They were moving it to another place in Quebec, I think. But or maybe they were moving some of the distribution to the States. I can't remember exactly, but that was an old story. But I just pointed that out only as that he does come down on those, and he has pointed out products that mislead you as to their origin. He's pointed that out. Like people are buying Canadian, people are buying Ontario, so different products are putting labels of Canada label on it. And if you read the small print, for instance, Campbell Soups, I think it was Campbell Soups that moved their production into the States, put on their cans a little Canadian flag, and if you read it said from a Canadian recipe, not that it was produced here, not that it was packaged here, anything of that kind. So he's good, like he's a strong advocate for Ontario and taking a look that way.
But traditionally, things like Campbell's Soup, you have one label, irrespective whether the thing is sold in America, in the US, or in Canada.
Not true.
Label,
not true. Not true. You can change your labels very quickly. If you have a shipment going to Canada, you change the labels and you send everything up with up to Canada with a little thing saying from a Canadian recipe. The stuff you sell in the United States would have a different label on it.
Oh, I agree. I would tend to agree.
I know that because I worked in a canning factory.
Yeah. Well, it's label changing is easy as pie anyway.
Yeah, just take this stack of labels out and replace it with this stack of labels.
Yeah, yeah. And
they could be almost exactly the same, but the ones for Canada, like for instance, the label, if they come into Canada from the United States, they're going to have French and English on it. Obviously, that they wouldn't be putting that on the labels for the products that they made for the US.
Yeah, and it's the same sort of thing as when you're getting, if you're doing in a cannery and you're doing like tuna and you're doing posh label tuna and you're doing now Tesco Tesco UK supermarket, you're doing Zare's no name brand, President's Choice no name brand. That basically you can swap those labels in an instant. Yeah, same tin, same product, a different label is all.
Yes, well, the anti-tariff message that was produced by Reagan himself and used by Doug Ford is a smart move. I think that the real Republicans, not the MAGA Republicans, will take note of that. We find a lot of Republicans right now are really split on the issue of tariffs and free trade. The Republicans advanced the cause of free global trade for most of their last 50 years, and now that has changed. So now you have a lot of MAGA Republicans, but you also have a lot of ordinary Republicans that are afraid to combat their beloved leader.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good thing for Doug Ford to put out there. I saw a person from Iowa, I forget who he was, I don't know if he was the governor or not, pointing out that of their representatives, only Chuck Grassley, I think they were all Republican representatives, senators, and congressmen of that particular state. Only Chuck Grassley made issue with the tariffs and how it was hurting the farmers of Iowa. And he felt that none of the others knew all about the problems and were well aware of the tariff problems and how it negatively affected their particular state, were afraid to speak out.
Yeah.
And only the aged Chuck Grassley, who would not be going for another term anyway, would speak out against the beloved leader. And his point, and I would say this too, that to add this to the conversation, that his point was, and something that I've said for many years, is the two-party system is not doing America any good. The two-party system is split on ideological levels.
And
they are competing with one another rather than focusing on the average American.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The state-sponsored two-party system is ruining the U.S.
Yeah, it's kind of a divided ideologies, and what you do need is a third or a fourth party to bring everybody back into practical practical applications.
And dare I say,
because right now each party is afraid of the ideology that is current. If you among the Democrats, you couldn't voice your opinions on certain issues because you'd get canceled, and among the Republicans, you can't voice your real opinions because you're afraid of the beloved leader and getting primaried. So it's not working.
Okay, so moving on, Marineland is basically saying the Nova Scotia coastal refuge is not viable. They're concerned about environmental pollution. They're saying basically that refuge is too polluted for safely house marine animals. They're also saying that despite the plans of 2020, they claim there's not been any meaningful progress in construction of that sanctuary, and that there's therefore animal welfare risks, and that's why they're not going to move the belugas to Nova Scotia.
I don't know if it was a viable option right from the very beginning, because right from the very beginning, we heard about this area off the coast of Nova Scotia where they plan to put up a big net in a huge area and allow captive whales and belugas and things like that to be able to live there. However, it is not suitable right now. Apparently it has pollution issues with an old gold mine that had to be close by, and it really does not practically meet the needs of captive beluga whales or any other animal. Another proposal was to release them in Hudson's Bay. That came from an indigenous Inuit person. Why don't you just leave them in Hudson Bay? There's lots of belugas there. The point is that they have long lost their ability to be able to fend for themselves in the wild. So that's an issue. We are stuck with one of these problems that seems to be unable to be solved. And I have a feeling that the beluga whales are going to stay pretty much where they are and live out their lives there, because what else can we do? The other option is to euthanize them. Nobody wants that to happen. Nobody wants them to stay in Marineland, but where are you going to go? I think maybe one of the options is to let the display of belugas continue until they die out. And there seems to be no other real option as far as I can see, because you can't let them out in the wild. They don't know how to survive in the wild. If you want to transport them all the way down to Nova Scotia, that's a facility that's not even really well built yet. It's more of an idea than it is actually a functioning place. And they have the issue of pollution.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody came up with a good idea, started the project, and then ran out of money.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the first time I've heard about gold mine pollution in and around the area. So that's a new issue. Like at first it sounded like if they ever got it going, it'd be the perfect place to put captive whales and belugas and all that in this sort of huge netted off area. So they got a lot more freedom, but you can feed them because they can't feed themselves. They've lost that ability. We found out what happened when they took a killer whale and freed it in Iceland. it was never that well was solitary for the rest of its life, because the other killer whales would not accept it in their pods.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's even with another wild killer whale, if it happened to be separated from its pod, would not find friendly place to stay among another pod.
Yeah. And it's easy to underestimate how an impact that is, because there were 30 belugas, I believe, and we kind of almost could say, well, why don't we just let them all free? They're a pod on their own, but they're not.
No, so the Inuits' idea of letting them free into Hudson Bay would have been okay if they had the ability to take care of themselves, but they don't. So,
yeah. And it's kind of that question about the ability to take care of themselves, because of the fact that when they're in captivity, humans feed them and have fed them for decades.
Yeah, they haven't had normally when they're born into a pod, they begin to learn survival from the other members of the pod. And as they grow into adulthood, then they transfer that knowledge to the next generation of belugas, and that's how they survive. But in this particular case, no, it's not good. What else do we got?
It's the same actually. If we were to release many of the other animals that we've got, that are in captivity, things like lions and tigers and that.
Yes. So
yeah.
I just like to point, maybe just to wrap up this end of it, we have the province is appointing our regional chair following the death of Jim Bradley. I think this is probably pretty important here regionally. It has already come up with, there is some contention already.
Well, I find that very contentionable, because when the regional chair was elected at last, when Jim Bradley was selected as regional chair, there was like an initial meeting of the council, and him and somebody else was nominated.
Well, here's a quote. For 7 years, the Ford government has meddled in Niagara municipal politics. It's time to stop. And I believe that's from probably Wayne Gates. Now, what is it? Now, what normally happens, right? You have an election of regional councilors, and they among themselves vote for the chair.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened. That's how Bradley was chosen, because there was another candidate, but the other candidate was so far behind in the polls that I think Bradley was chosen on the first round of voting.
Yes. Now, we do not, like here in the municipality of Niagara Falls, of course, we vote for the mayor and we vote for the councilor separately. In this particular case, it's the councilors themselves that appoint the leader, the one that's going to chair the rest of the council.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, this province has stepped in and appointed a chair. Is this the right thing to do?
I don't think it is. I think it would be the correct thing to do would be, first of all, there has to be the deputy chair would take over immediately, and one of the first roles of the deputy chair would be to put in place a new a vote for a new chair.
I would think so, but even with Bradley gone, that's one less councilor we have. Do we have to have a by-election?
And again, that's a question that we don't necessarily have to have a by-election. We could appoint the next council, the next candidate that was from the St. Catharines area, because Bradley was St. Catharines.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do like we did here. We've had two of our councilors did not win, but came close to winning. But when the two Waynes had to leave or die. Wayne Campbell died, and Wayne Thompson became unable to represent us. So the next two closest candidates in the election replaced them. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
But can that be done there? And then once that
absolutely it could
council seat is filled, then can the councillors then vote for who they believe should be the next chair?
Yeah.
In this case, the province stepped in and appointed a guy.
Yeah, and that's I'm not well, actually they haven't yet appointed, have they? Do we have a name?
No. And it says here, NDP MPP Wayne Gates on Wednesday called out Trump Ford government for meddling again in Niagara Regional Chair appointment and rewarding friends and failed Conservative candidates and donors with other appointments while ignoring local decision making. Yeah, is Ford here just paying off favors? Is that what he's doing?
Well,
and for years now, Doug Ford has treated Niagara Falls like a personal appointment agency, stacking our boards with insiders and ignoring the voices of the people who live and work here. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's. I'm going to say that. Hey, that sounds like bluster to me, but by Wayne Gates, that's just pure bluster, and getting his mouth, out there to object to anything that Doug Ford is saying.
I don't know. I think he's got a point. He says we have a series of failed candidates who all lost at the ballot box, but Ford handed them government jobs anyway. That's not democracy. That's cronyism.
Fair.
Okay. It's hard to argue that, is it?
It is hard to argue that, yeah.
Yeah. So if you have somebody that failed at the ballot box and gets an appointment, buddy, a donor gets a nice Pearl job. We knew it happened when he opened up the green spaces in Ontario, right? Who was getting priority? It was his donor buddies that owned a lot of land, right? That came back to bite him, and he had to turn back on that opening up green. First of all, he said he wasn't going to do it. Then he did it, said, oh, I don't have any choice. We got to do it. We got to build more houses, stuff like that. When it became very clear that there was too much cronyism involved, that he had to back away from it. So, yeah, there is that inclination among Ford. I think it is among every politician that you pay off your buddies somehow, somewhere along the line. That's become very evident among the Liberals too.
And again,
anytime they dish out a Senate seat or anything else like that.
Yeah, again, Jim Bradley, I think, has done a good job as regional chair. He overturned, he moved Niagara away from arguably cronyism, right? So it's important to me that the next full council meeting votes on who the next chair is.
Yeah, so anyway, it says here the province had several options to replace Bradley since his death. The ministry can appoint a sitting councillor or name a member of the public to serve as chair for the remainder of the term, which ends October 26, 2026.
Yeah.
The region has had chairs who were not sitting councillors. Johnny Campbell was the longest serving regional chair. He was first appointed to the office in 1969 by Premier of Ontario, John Robarts. He retired in 1985, serving 16 years. Wilbert Dick served as regional chair from 1985 to 91. He was permitted to seek his position in 1988 without running for election and was appointed by a majority vote of the elected regional members. The chair receives a salary of $140,000 plus driving expenses or car expenses. So it's not a hugely paying job, but it is. Bradley was a good choice because he was a seasoned politician.
Yeah,
he had many years at Queen's Park. He knew his way around.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, these other political appointments. Now, it seems that it's not without. It has happened before, so it's not unusual for an appointment to come like that. However, should we change things? Is this a window opening for the province or to meddle in the affairs of the municipality and put someone that sees things their way in position of power? I would much rather that this guy be an elected official, somebody had been elected locally, and then being confirmed by the councillors. But this is an appointed position, and the other councillors have no say in it.
And actually, I'm not so sure that's a good idea. Given the challenges we faced here in Niagara, I really don't think it's a good idea to be appointing somebody from the region.
Yeah, we don't want to erode the grassroots democracy, do we?
No.
When you start getting government appointing officials in an elected, which should be an elected office, I don't know, that doesn't sound right to me. But anyway, not having had a long look at it, but we can see that previously this was done sort of seamlessly. And the one example they gave here was when somebody was appointed and then elected and approved of by the council. Now, does the council get to approve this guy that is appointed? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm basically what should happen is the next meeting, as I said, the vice chair should take over, and they should be electing a new chair.
Yeah, so it's not without precedent to have an unelected person serve as the regional chair, but is that something we should change?
It's undemocratic.
Yes, it is. Is it a means by which just by just to make things quicker to fill in the blank until there is election?
Yeah, I think in the election, though, we should have been an election for the regional chair across the whole of Niagara.
I'm not so sure the rules are that the councillors themselves choose.
Yeah, the rules are currently. I favour the voting of a regional chair across the council by members of the public. Well, I don't know the practicality of it. I'd have to talk to the councillors that do now sit in regional council and what they think of it. I don't think they really like somebody from the outside appointing someone. No, I know.
But like I said, it's not without precedent. And is it a tolerable stopgap for them until the election does happen? And I don't think we should be voting for the regional chair. I think the councillors themselves should vote for somebody that they feel is suitable to be the overseer of council.
Here we go.
The method that's happened up until now.
Here's crazy solution number one, Dave. All right. Doug Ford appoints Wayne Gates to become the new regional chair. After all, it shuts him up in Queen's Park, doesn't it?
Maybe, but because Wayne Gates has had a long history of politics, put in that position, he would be wrested from his ideological positions and then had to use his political experience to. And exactly. Of course, as a union position too, to govern effectively without ideological bent.
Yeah, I know. I think he would do a good job.
I think he probably would have.
I think he would do a good job, but I think he doesn't want to do that.
Well, even if he was the best person in the world for that, he's not going to get the nod from the Ford government, is he? Because
I know.
The Ford government is going to pay off one of their buddies.
Well, I was actually thinking it would be the way to get rid of one of the thorns in their side.
Yeah, I don't think they're too worried about Wayne Gates. I think it's bewildering to them that they can't get a conservative down here when we have a federal conservative representative, and then we go to the total polar opposite and get an NDP provincial. But as I said before, quite often in Niagara, it's the person that people vote for, not so much the party ideology.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how this develops anyway, and we're way past that time.
Yeah, and I'd just like to mention Gaza again. I guess JD Vance has gone to meet up with Netanyahu, and the story behind that, I fear, is that JD Vance is being sent there to put Netanyahu in line to make sure that he obliges by the peace treaty. This is way too important for the Trump administration, particularly Donald Trump, who seems to think that he's putting a lot of eggs in his basket here in order to get his coveted Nobel Peace Prize. If he does accomplish it in the Gaza Strip, he will get it. But JD Vance has got to go over there and rein in Netanyahu, and we'll see how that works. Netanyahu is not being cooperative in this one bit, and we know all the different reasons for it. But the main thing is, let's keep this peace going. Let's stop these people from getting hurt. And the appalling use by the Israeli government of withholding supplies, food, medicine, and water every time some Hamas guy shoots his gun. The whole Gaza Strip has to be punished. Every person, every baby, every old man, everybody from top to bottom will be punished for whatever Hamas or its operatives do, which is collective punishment. And that's just monstrous.
Yeah.
And so JD, I mean, I'm giving you the thumbs up on this one. If you can rein in that lunatic, Netanyahu, I hope you can. But like I said, it's in the interest of Netanyahu for this war to continue.
I don't think he can, but still.
Anyway, without further ado, I bid you pray for peace, everyone.